Welcome back. The US heads to the polls in 10 days, but for many voters, the election is done and dusted. The figures are staggering. 35 million Americans choosing to vote by post this year. Health experts say it could curb the spread of the coronavirus, but the president, Donald Trump, is hitting back, saying postal voting should in fact be stamped out. Take you to the big screen now. As always, Michael Marillier is standing by. So Donald Trump wants mail-in voting done away with. What are his supporters feeling at this point?
Yeah, he says that he won't give the stamp of approval, if you'll excuse the pun, Tembakile, when it comes to mail-in voting. And it seems that a lot of his supporters are really buying that argument. We're going to talk about a new study from the Pew Research Center. It came out at the beginning of the month, Tembakile, and it really explores how Americans feel about the election system and whether they actually trust it. And I've got to say, a lot of this is really, really concerning. Let's bring up the stats, Tembakile. So we'll start with a study in 2018 which asked Americans whether they thought that the elections would be run well. 81% in 2018 said yes, just 19% said no. That was, of course, for the midterm elections in 2018. But if we look at the past month, Tembakile, 62% saying that the elections will be run well, and nearly 40% saying that they don't think that the system will produce a reliable result. A massive, massive increase over the last 2 years. Now, you might ask the question, well, what's behind this? How do different groups actually feel about that? Well, that might give us some clues. Let's take a look at the split when it comes to Biden supporters and Trump supporters. So 72% of Biden supporters, Tembakile, actually have faith in the system. Just 50% of Trump supporters feel the same way. So there's a clear split when it comes to the opposite sides of the ballot. Biden really encouraging people to vote via mail if they can to avoid the spread of the coronavirus. Trump much more skeptical about mail-in voting. Tembakile?
And you have to wonder then, Trump supporters, are they more paranoid, or is the president actually making them more anxious about how the election could go precisely because of the mail-in voting process?
Yeah, very good question. It might be a bit of both, that perhaps Trump appeals to Americans who are a bit more skeptical about the system itself. But at the same time, Trump has been stoking the fears for a long time, going back all the way to 2016, before the election against Hillary Clinton. The latest tweet that we've got when it comes to mail-in voting, he said mail-in voting fraud is found in many elections. People are just now seeing how bad, dishonest and slow it is. Ridiculous, just a formula for rigging an election. He then issued another tweet, as he tends to do. He never just sends one, right? And he said this, Tembakile: absentee ballots are fine because you have to go through a precise process. Not so with mail-ins. Rigged election, 20% fraudulent ballots. Not clear at all, Tembakile, where he actually got those numbers. But if we go back to our Pew Research study, let's focus on that very quickly. They asked people whether or not they had faith when it came to those mail-in votes and whether they would be counted properly and fairly. Trump supporters, just 28% of them said they had faith in postal voting. Compared to Biden supporters, massive, massive difference. In fact, more than 80% of Biden supporters said that they believed that their votes would be counted if they sent them in the post. So you are seeing very much a polarized picture emerging here, Tembakile. And the cynics will say that Donald Trump is priming his supporters to reject a result if it doesn't go his way. Of course, all of us here in South Africa and all of us around the world will be hoping that it doesn't come to that. And if Trump loses, there's a peaceful transition of power.
Michael Marillier, an interesting couple of days and weeks ahead.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for that.